Okay, so this is part two of our critique. Something happened in the middle of me talking with this photo, and it said that a computer went to sleep. I really don't know what happened. I'm hoping that we didn't lose the first part of this critique because things were going really well, but who knows? So we're going to go back, and I'll go back to the screen share on your. Okay, are you seeing my Lightroom again?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So where did we end up last time? Where did you lose me?
We were talking about the snow, and you said you like the lighting on the snow.
Okay. Okay, so you missed me talking about a focus bracket.
No, yeah, I did.
Okay, okay. All right, well, so what I was saying was when we were having our hangout today with the group, with the cohort, I was talking about us doing a focus bracket as one of our challenges, upcoming challenges, so we could bring sharpness in all the way throughout a photo. That was one thing about this photo that I thought a focus bracket would help, because if we look, we have sharpness on the barn, we have sharpness on the fence, and then we have sharpness on the snow going about halfway down the frame.
Hmm.
The foreground from the bottom third, I guess, is kind of soft, but I think that detail in the snow is really interesting.
Hmm.
So to do a focus bracket, you could just change the focus and do one shot where you're focused on the foreground. And you shot this with a 105 millimeter lens. And whenever you start using longer lenses in scenics, that's a good time to do this technique, because the longer your lens, the less depth of field that you have. So
Yeah.
you could do one where you're focused on the bottom third of the image of the detail in the snow, and then do your second shot focused like you are here. And then you could stack these. You'd have to do the black and white process to each of them.
Hmm.
Or you could just blend it together in color and then do your black and white process. But I'm going to show you guys in our next hangout of how I do this technique. The one reason I suggest this is because you do have some really interesting detail down at the bottom of the frame, but it's not really that sharp. And
Hmm.
it's mainly because you're f8 and then you're focused quite a ways away from the front of the scene.
Yeah.
So that would be one way that we could fix that. I would like to see some more, like less gray in this photo, and more variety in the gray, because it seems like a lot of the gray in here is kind of the same tone.
Hmm.
So I think that playing around with your presets on Solar Effects Pro, or just doing some stuff with a gray dropper and checking on the whites and the blacks, would make this have a little bit more pop, a little more interesting detail that would draw the viewer in. Like
Okay.
I felt like that your other black and white, this one, had more variety in the blacks and the grays, where this one looks a little flat to me.
Well, the other one actually had a lot of color. This one was actually completely flat to
Right.
begin with, because it was actually pretty gray, because there was a lot of ice mist in the air also.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but see, we didn't have a black at first, and I added a little bit more black, and I think that
Okay.
maybe even going putting some more in there, but then dragging the shadow detail up,
Oh, okay.
kind of gives it some more pop. I'm going to give this one a 2 also. And then we'll go to your Chicago photo, which this one's my favorite one. I absolutely love this shot. I'm tempted to make a trip to Chicago next year so you can show me this going on.
Yes. It's a
So
beautiful time of the year too.
when is this happens?
It'll happen twice during the what is it, the equinox or
Oh,
no?
the equinox. Okay. So this was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you tell the viewers here a little bit of background information on this?
Yeah, so this is an event known as the Chicago Henge, where the sun actually comes in at an angle from behind the buildings. And on this particular day, twice a year, it sets exactly right between those two sets of buildings. Every other day, it'll pass a little bit and set behind the buildings, but on this day, it'll set exactly behind. So you can see a lot of photographers there trying to get that shot. So I actually got there very early, was able to put my tripod down, got 5 shots, and did an HDR using that.
Okay, so this was HDR. I
Yeah.
thought it that it was.
hmm
Are you using Photomatics?
For this one, I used Photomatics because there was a lot of movement, especially with the train. I wanted to get the one that was actually had the least amount of movement,
Okay.
and so that's how that's why I used Photomatics for this.
Okay. So there's a lot of things to like about this photo. I mean, you've got great lighting. You got the moment. You know, you had to get there early and get your spot set because this is a really famous, popular day for photography in Chicago, and you did what it took to get the shot. So I mean, you deserve an A plus just for that. Um, you know, you've already heard me say that after you master the technical aspects, that timing is everything, and that's where you got the timing. I really like that you have the train coming through too.
Mhm.
So I mean, you know, you think of Chicago and some of the things that people will think of if you start telling them to name things about Chicago, and it's the L train, right?
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that you added to the photo, and I think that it makes it more interesting. So the timing is great. Um, I think that the only thing that I could suggest to make this better, and I'm going to give you a 2.8 on this. I want to give you a 3, but there's one little thing that I think could make this better, and I would like the camera to be tilted a little bit more down
Mm.
because I think that all those photographers lined up at the bottom is part of what makes this photo interesting. And
Mm.
I think that being able to see them a little bit more kind of adds to it. It shows that this is a big event for photographers in Chicago. You know, you've got, I don't know if all that sky at the top is as important as the photographers down at the bottom. So I also think that, you know, I noticed this is f16 1/120th of a second.
Mhm.
Um, I think that if you would have maybe went up to ISO 200 or ISO 400, so you could get a little bit of a faster shutter speed for that train.
Mm.
Whereas, so it's. I mean, we can see it, we know what it is, but there's a little bit of a motion blur on there that I think would be, you know, I might even be wrong with this, but it might perhaps make it stronger if it was more frozen, the
Yeah.
train. So, I mean, I think with your camera, you can still get really good results at ISO 400. So I
Oh
think,
yeah, very easily.
yeah, so I think ISO 400 would put you at a, let's see, that puts you at about a 1/125th of a second shutter speed, I think.
Mhm.
Uh, so that would probably freeze the train quite a bit more. And then the photographer, are there any other photographers in front of the people, behind the people that you're?
No, so that's the lower level. So I'm actually standing up much higher
Okay.
at the park, and I actually have my um, tripod sitting on top of a wall where I can't even actually see through the viewfinder.
Oh, wow.
So I actually composed it, and then I had to sit down, and I was clicking with my remote.
Oh, wow. So that even makes it tougher, huh?
Yeah, it
So,
was like I was shooting a little bit blind there.
okay. Well, that said, man, you did a fantastic job, especially having to shoot blind like that. And I'm just being a little bit nitpicky on wanting a little bit more of the bottom. But I mean, I think that this is a very strong, from the photos of yours that I've seen, and I really like your photography. That this is one of my favorites by far. I think that you did a fantastic job of thinking it out. How am I going to do this, and then executing on a plan. You know, like you're going to have a challenge in the cohort coming up where it's all about coming up with a plan and executing it.
Hmm.
And here I'm seeing proof, evidence that you are already good at doing things like that. And that's how, you know, you get those keeper portfolio images, is thinking of an event or something that about a subject and a way to capture it in an interesting way, and then going through and executing it. And here I can tell that that's something that you've done. You know, you knew that this was going to happen. You got in the right place. Your timing is dead on. You got the sun right behind the train. You got the color, the traffic, the photographers. You know, this is one that you might end up wanting to print, put up on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you have any other questions for me?
So one question, when I was talking to Evan earlier, and he was talking about the green bush below,
Yeah,
and he was saying that it was a little bit distracting. Does it make sense to take that out, actually?
I think that I think that it would be better if you could have it as the same color as the ones on the left and right of it,
Mm,
where it's just dark.
okay.
But I am kind of wondering why this is such a bright green and why to the left and right of it. And it's probably something to do with the HDR process.
That's possible.
Yeah, yeah, because there's some detail in here, and then this is all dark.
Yeah.
So I think that I would darken this right in here. Yeah, but I think he's right. It is a little distracting. I mean, there's so much to look at in this photo that you don't really want people to have to look there.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I do want to look there because of these like giant herd of photographers that are all shoulder to shoulder, you know, that they're out trying to do the same thing that you're doing. You know, I bet that you got a better shot than all of them.
Yeah. There were a lot of people right next to me also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I think that I probably would do some cloning or something to darken that green up.
Okay. And I
All right.
think actually I may have cropped out the bottom a little bit, so I might be actually be able to get back some of that.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd like to see what you do there. All right. So I'm going to go back to, well, we're not screen sharing anymore. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to stop this broadcast. But anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. Sorry about the technical difficulties that we had, and we're going to stop broadcast.